What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the show. It is Saturday night, so having a few hydrating beverages from White Claw. It's all I had in the fridge. Don't judge me. But a couple things I wanted to touch on tonight. I went live on my Instagram earlier and solicited from people topics that they wanted me to talk about. So kind of as to be expected, the normal stuff, vax mandates, Kyle Rittenhouse, and Aaron Rodgers. So I'll cover that stuff first, and then there's a few things I wanted to cover on this show. First off, vax mandate. I mean, I talked about it on the last show for the most part, and you guys probably know my opinion on it. I don't care if you get vaccinated or not. I truly don't. I think it's a personal choice. Where I draw the line is mandating it from the top down. It's absolutely ludicrous. My position on it, I think I've made very clear. I think it's unconstitutional, and I think Biden is overstepping in a huge way. I mean, that's why you've seen it blocked by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I think there's like 24 states that are suing him now. That number may have gone up at this point. I think that probably he never really thought that it would happen, but he's signaling to the far left wing of his base that he's basically doing some things that they want him to do. I don't know. I feel like that's probably the move here. I don't think he actually, if he does think that it would actually happen, I think that he's probably more far gone than I even imagined. But that's my view on vax mandates. It makes no sense. I mean, even from a scientific perspective, the vaccines are very clearly leaky. You know, the efficacy of the vaccines wane over time. They're ephemeral in nature, right? So they're only effective for a short period of time, relatively speaking. And then you got to get a booster and another booster, etc. That notwithstanding, they don't prevent you from catching or spreading COVID. They just lessen the severity of your symptoms. So this whole narrative of, I got vaccinated for others, for the greater good. I did it for my neighbor because I'm a good human. It's absolutely preposterous. You're so pompous, you're virtue signaling, and you're full of shit because you haven't actually read any real science. And if you have, then you're just willfully ignorant of the fact that that's not the way these things work. Okay, so that said, vaccine mandates make zero sense. We already have a plethora of data that show that, especially with the Delta variant, there's no difference in viral loads between vaccinated and non-vaccinated, right? And even more so with folks who have already had a prior COVID infection and they have natural immunity, it's not even a comparison. It's not even a comparison. We have data from Israel, 2.5 million people in that study, 6 to 13 times, I think, more effective protection if you've been previously infected versus had a vaccine. So these mandates, they're not about actually protecting people. They're not about actual science. They're about power. They're about control. And it's been this sort of runaway train with a lot of people who are not intelligent humans, and they jump on the bandwagon and they feel, since I've been vaccinated, I should shame others who aren't, when in fact, vaccinated people catch and spread COVID. Unvaccinated people catch and spread COVID. That's not a reason to get vaccinated. So check yourself, do a little research, do a little reading, educate yourself maybe before you start shaming people like a complete ignoramus and you look like an idiot. All right? So that's my view on vax mandates. I think it's preposterous. I don't think it's going to happen in this country. I think there's going to be far too much resistance, as there should be, and that's where that's going to end up. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse, ongoing saga, right? There's been days and days of this trial. A lot of people speaking up about it that have clearly not even watched it. The prosecutors made blunder after blunder and been cascaded by the judge several times for doing unconstitutional things, like using Kyle's Fifth Amendment right against him and basically, insinuating that by remaining silent leading up to the trial, it's cause for being suspicious, right? You know, little things like that are just absolutely ridiculous. It just shows me that the prosecutor pretty much has nothing to go on. And then you have all these complete morons out here talking about it, like LeBron James, you know, joking about the kid crying on stage when clearly, if you've never seen anybody have a panic attack, that's absolutely what was happening. And meanwhile, LeBron cries routinely during games that you play, notwithstanding a kid who had to protect himself, killing 2 people and injuring another. And you're going to give him crap for crying, yet you fall down and get a little boo-boo and you cry when you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. Give me a break. Meanwhile, supporting communist China that has concentration camps. What kind of man are you? You're not one. Give me a break. Pick on kids? Give me a fucking break, you piece of shit. That's not a man. That's a child. That's a child who got lucky and had a little bit of skill and made millions of dollars. And now he feels like his opinion matters. It does not. Aaron Rodgers. All right. So everybody probably knows about this story. Like Aaron Rodgers, when questioned if he was vaccinated, he said, I'm immunized. Okay. It was a roundabout way of not answering the question, but answering the question, right? He said he's immunized. He had natural immunity, which should be a valid way to protect against COVID. It should be a valid way to move along in society. And in fact, people shouldn't ask you at all your personal health information. It doesn't matter, but we've already just discussed this, okay? Anyway, Aaron Rodgers is getting all this heat in the press for essentially not being vaccinated. It's just, again, it's just another example of lemmings, smooth-brained, low-minded people who can't think for themselves or actually do any research, and they see a guy who, you know, they'd rather target a guy like him than turn inward and look at themselves and look at their lives and what's going on in their lives and how they can improve on that. So instead, they'd rather attack someone like Aaron Rodgers because they're just poor excuses for humans, to be quite honest. And the media is attacking him, grasping onto it. You know, the thing with Aaron Rodgers and Joe Rogan, and I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan touched on this in one of his recent episodes, the part the media leaves out when they got COVID, the part the media leaves out is the fact that they recovered very quickly. Okay, Jen Psaki just got back, the White House press secretary, fully vaccinated. She got COVID. She's out for like 2 weeks or whatever. All right, Joe Rogan, Aaron Rodgers, they both had COVID for like a day or two where they had some symptoms and then they recovered, ended up testing negative in, 5 days or whatever. That's the part the media doesn't cover because they don't want you knowing that you don't have to get this vaccination if you make the personal choice not to. And you should be able to do that because, once again, you're only protecting yourself if you get vaccinated. It's doing nothing for anyone else. All right? And we've already discussed before on the show, everybody's probably going to get COVID at some point. It's endemic. You need to just accept that fact. Make sure you have a plan for if you get it. And then just move on with your life. Stop making it all about this thing. So I wanted to talk about a cool video that I actually came across on YouTube, surprisingly, from the New York Times, of all places. This video dropped on November 9th. It is now November 13th, so 4 days ago. It already has 2.2 million views as of right now. And the title of this video, now remember, this is coming from the New York Times. This is quite shocking, quite shocking stuff. Liberal hypocrisy is fueling American inequality. Here's how. So this is a video. It's worth your time to watch it. It's 14 minutes long. It's not too bad, not too much of your time, but really just breaks down like, hey, look, here are all these states that have been blue for as long as you can remember, and they are not in great shape. And oftentimes in the public discourse, you hear Democrats blaming the Republicans for stymieing progress, when in fact a lot of these states, California, Illinois, etc., have been blue for a long time. They've been Democrat controlled. There's been a stronghold on these states. And they're in some of the worst conditions insofar as like economic disparity goes, the housing crisis, etc. So this video discusses that. It talks about those things, and I think it's a good thing that they are, and it's important that they are because, kind of the same deal applies to crime. We notice a lot of the highest crime rates are in blue states. The most heavy gun control states have the highest rates of crime and shooting specifically. Like, this is all very real, and we have to just stop at some point and say, well, hey, look, these guys say that they care about these things, but their states are just complete train wrecks, So just a few things from this video. And again, it's called Liberal Hypocrisy is Fueling American Inequality. Here's how. New York Times opinion. So if you go to the New York Times YouTube page, it's by Johnny Harris. He's a video journalist, and it breaks all this stuff down. It's very interesting. So credit where credit's due. The New York Times, being very objective and honest about some downfalls of the Democrat Party here. So in blue states, economic inequality is increasing the most quickly. All right, and this is diametrically opposed to what the Democrat platform is. Decreasing economic inequality. However, in their states that they've had a stranglehold on forever, the disparities are the highest. Educational inequality is the most prevalent in blue states. All right. Once again, to profess to care so much about education and closing the gaps based on race or gender or whatever, name your identifying criteria. Democrat states, blue states have the most inequality in education. And when you start to break it down and look at why, it's because essentially they don't live out their ideals. So they'll say one thing, but do the other, right? Like you have, for example, it's essentially gerrymandering in educational districts, like in Illinois, where, the money, they break it down to these very small districts. So you have a very affluent district and the property taxes paid in that district only go to the school for that district. Whereas what should really happen is at the state level, it should all go into a pot and get divided equally amongst all the schools so all kids have a chance at having a quality education. However, Democrat Illinois does not do that, right? So that's just one example. Once again, another example, the housing crisis is located almost exclusively in blue states. Homelessness issues, housing issues, and it does a really good job of breaking it down, looking at California and property values and how they push even, liberals, those on the far left even push against these zoning changes that would allow housing developments, multifamily housing developments that would increase housing for underprivileged. And time again, those Democrats in power oppose that. They try to keep low density housing, single family homes in their backyard. So it's one of these things where it's like, that stuff all sounds good. I'm all for that, but I don't want it near me. Right. So, and this is a quote, maybe paraphrasing a little bit. I tried to jot it down as I was listening. And it goes like this. Affluent liberals are good at showing up to the marches and making signs. But really what they're saying is, I believe in these things, just not in my backyard. And that's what you see time and time again in these blue states. And these affluent liberals virtue signaling on social media and calling people like me who, I'm not a Republican. I'm not on the far right. I just call it like I see it. But they're quick to call me a terrible person, yet they're living a very different way in their own lives. So a very interesting, insightful video. Once again, it's Liberal Hypocrisy is Fueling American Inequality. Here's How by New York Times Opinion. And that's on YouTube, on the New York Times YouTube page. So, hats off to Johnny Harris over at the New York Times. That's a very interesting video. And, no matter what the side, it's always interesting to see, man, these White Claws are really giving me the burps. It's really interesting to see when a political party will have some introspection and sort of objectively evaluate its downfalls. So, credit to them for that. The last thing I just wanted to touch on really quick, this is going to be a short one, guys, because it's Saturday night. I still got to eat dinner with my family. Dave Portnoy. Now, on an episode, I don't know if it was the most recent one I did or one before that, I opened with never apologize. So in this age of cancel culture, in this age of attacks online, kind of the worst thing you can do is apologize, because it does nobody any good, especially if you're innocent, right? And if you just kowtow to the desires of the woke mob just to try to get them off your back and apologize, you're just admitting defeat. You're giving them the W. And they don't care if you apologize. It's not like they're like, oh, great, he apologized, we forgive him. There is no forgiveness. So Dave Portnoy is a great example of someone who stood up against it, did not apologize, and said, no, actually, you're wrong. This is what happened. I'm standing up for myself. So essentially, for those who may not know, and look this up, read these articles. It's interesting stuff to kind of see it all unfold. But Business Insider essentially released a hit piece on Dave Portnoy saying that he, and this is the really weird part, actually, just saying that he like has rough sex with women, which is not a crime. If it's consensual and if you have rough sex, it's not a crime. There's no alleging of rape. None of the women said he raped them. It's just literally like they had a reporter over at the Business Insider sort of go around and contact any girl that had been in touch with Dave Portnoy or had been intimate with him, trying to get anything they could. And there were tons, I guess, that they reached out to that said, no, I don't want to comment on it. And they reached out to Dave and let him know, hey, this weird reporter got in touch with me. But basically, they wrote a hit piece on him. And it seems, for reasons related to some beef they may have with Portnoy, not related to these issues with these women. They were just kind of looking for any kind of dirt they could get on him. And instead of apologizing and instead of sort of bowing down to this, Dave Portnoy has stood up. He's released several videos and posted on social media about it, proving his point, showing the receipts, showing text messages and DMs with these girls, and basically exonerating himself in the court of public opinion. And I just wanted to bring that up because, hats off to him. And you see it time and time again where, unfortunately, there are scenarios where, women are raped and it's awful and it's horrible. It's the most fucking disgusting thing I can even imagine as the father of a young girl. But then there are also scenarios where powerful men are targeted by young women who, want to try to exploit them. And I think this is a pretty clear case of that. And Dave shows the messages where, this one girl posts that it wasn't the best sex and she's going to stick to athletes and puts a bunch of dollar signs or whatever. So, this exists as well. And I just want to say good on Dave Portnoy for standing up for himself. I think it was even against the advisement of his attorneys. He decided to go public and address all of this. And look, man, at the end of the day, it's not a crime to have sex. It's not a crime to have rough sex. It's, as long as it's all consensual, what happens in a bedroom between a man and a woman, even if later on the woman regrets that she did it, that's still consensual sex. And there's no reason that you should exploit the person because of that. So once again, good for Dave Portnoy for standing up for himself. And man, it's tough out there. So you hate to even say it, but if you're going into scenarios like this where you're potentially meeting up with a random person or whatever, just be mindful. Be mindful of anything that could be used against you in the future. It sucks that that's the case, but Dave Portnoy fortunately could pull up screenshots of DMs and all kinds of stuff where he just shows that the girl's pursuing him. He's not some kind of predator. It's literally all consensual. She's essentially begging him to meet up with her. He does, and then later on she regrets it or has feelings otherwise. And then basically when Business Insider reaches out to her, again, trying to write this hit piece, pursuing all of these people that Dave Portnoy has connections with, she decides that it's her chance to get some, to shine and to express that regret that she had over the encounter. But, at the end of the day, look, if you don't want anything like this to happen and you don't want to regret having a sexual encounter with someone, don't have a sexual encounter with someone. Unless it's, you're pursuing a relationship with them. I mean, that's the only advice I could give, but whatever. People live their lives. They're adults. Just be careful out there, y'all. And again, if the woke mob comes after you, if the court of public opinion comes after you because someone's trying to take you down, don't hesitate to not apologize and to stand up to it. And, again, hats off to Dave Portnoy. Good for you, man. Keep fighting the good fight. And that's it, my friends. It's a short one tonight. I got stuff to do. Until next time, keep your minds free.